Hello, family members. Hope you're having a nice day today. I want to talk to you today about something that has really been bugging me a lot lately, and I think it just kind of needs to be discussed. In popular discourse, people revert to this biological essentialism when they talk about the differences between men and women. Men have more upper body strength. Women are better at flexible stuff and balance and blah, 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 whatever. The idea is men are big and tall, and women are small and not as as strong just biologically. And there's a lot of problems with that. On average, the average man may have more upper body strength than the average woman. However, people are not averages. Human beings are all individuals. Think about Ilona Mayer, the Olympic rugby player, professional rugby player, former Dancing with the Stars contestant, quite acclaimed. I don't believe she won, but I think she got pretty close. That's a very athletic pursuit there. And then compare her to some short king that we like. Sorry. Say Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, maybe at his prime, could have out bench pressed Ilona Mayer if he really, really, really worked his quote unquote biological advantage. But at this point, as an older white man, I have no doubt that Ilona Mayer is stronger than him. She's a professional, world-class professional Olympic athlete. And even though he's a fairly, buff, working out kind of guy because he does all his own stunts and stuff, Tom Cruise is still kind of a short guy. No problem with that. It's going to be in short. That's just one example of what I'm talking about here, though. There are really, really, really strong women out there. And a lot of the strongest women are going to be stronger than the average man. And because people aren't averages, of course, then the strongest women, if you compared them to somebody who does fit in that average or below range, there's going to be individual variations there. Context matters, but in general, if you pit a, female bodybuilder or deadlift lifter, I don't know what the name is for that. I'm so sorry. I like watching people who are participating in those sort of weird edge case kind of sports that you almost never see except in the Olympics. And let me tell you, there are a lot of women out there that are really strong. Yeah, that is so unnecessary. Anyway, it's men really, really buy into this biological essentialism thing. They really, really buy into the idea that men are strong and women are weak. And it's just that's not how things work. Human beings are messier than that. The lines are blurrier than that, Like, the whole gotcha question that the right likes to play with. What is a woman? That's a fucking easy question. A woman is someone who says she is a woman. But no matter what her body parts, no matter what her chromosomes, a woman can be as strong or as weak as any individual. Okay? Like, there is no line. And that's why self-identification is the only way that you can really determine. Because here's the thing I don't get. When these people freak out about men and women's sports or whatever, blah, 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 and act like that these are people who are men, but they're just pretending not to be for some reason, financial gain, being able to get more opportunities in sports, which is ridiculous because women do not get more opportunities in sports. We're women, like what the fuck? Anyway, I mean, look at the women's national team, the soccer team. Our women's team is world class, top of the, rankings, like all the time, consistently for decades. Our men's team is abysmal, but the women still make less, or at least they used to. I think that might have been fixed, but at any rate, even though the men's team sucked and the women's team was amazing, the women still got less respect, less regard, and less funding. And less people come out to see them, and less people take them seriously. And it doesn't matter because they just believe that women's sports of any variety is going to be boring, dumb. Like, this is just a fundamental truth to them. And the idea that a person would not think that way or fit into that mold just isn't even possible for them. You know what I mean? And I don't know, it's like they need it to be true, It's like, if this isn't true, then my whole world falls apart. And when something is that, like, foundational belief that you live your life around, it is going to be damn near impossible to ever, like, examine that in an honest way, There are people who, no matter what I do, how hard I try, they will never listen to me. I could say the most profound, important things in the world, and I'm a woman, so some people will just rule me out right there. I'm fat. A lot of people will just rule me out right there because they just assume fat people are dumb and lazy, I guess. I don't know. I can't wear my hair long, so there's going to be people who won't listen to me for that reason. I can't wear my contacts anymore. I have to wear glasses, and I have to have a little bit of style with my glasses. And some people are gonna look at that and go, "Oh, that's just one of those blue-haired." I mean, I can't dye my hair, but that's the aesthetic that they're going to assume I have, and make judgments about me as a person based on what they perceive my aesthetic to be. I could say the most persuasive, wonderful, perfect arguments, and it just would not be enough for certain people, and I have to live with that, and that's, I think that, like, white dudes who, are reasonably affluent, maybe not rich, but, like, comfortable, just don't understand how like frustrating it is to just constantly have people judge you before you even open your mouth, just based on things about you, intrinsic things that they have no idea if that would be my choice or not. You know, they're just making assumptions. And they are going to be absolutely certain they know what they know about me, which is really funny. Um, I remember watching like a Dateline or ABC 2020, you know, those kind of like news magazine kind of shows about transgender women specifically, because transgender women have always had more representation than transgender men because of trans misogyny, you know, it's just, anyway. So, I remember watching that when I was like, I don't know, middle school age in the 90s. Like, this is something that is such a, not a new concept for me. Something I've always been familiar with my entire, you know, like adult life. And, you know, it's so weird to see all these people just show up super late to the conversation who have no idea what they're talking about. And they will happily, confidently talk over me because of how I look or blah, 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 blah. You know, fuck the fact that I have more, you know, like personal interests. I've been, you know, informed on this issue earlier than a lot of people who, you know, are of my generation, because I took a particular interest in it because I thought that was an interesting thing. I'm interested in the differences in human bodies. I went to a biology major and college, and then I went on to do a chiropractic degree where I spent years in a cadaver lab, gross anatomy. I know so much about the human body and variations in the human body, and you know, people just do not get how much humans vary, like just naturally. You know, there are a significant number of people whose heart is on the right side of their chest, not the left. Most people would never even consider that that's a possibility. They believe so intrinsically that everyone's heart is on the left side of their chest that it just would never even consider, they would never consider that it's possible. But those people exist. Like, there are so many weird variations in humans, you know, biological, physiological expression. And the idea that you can just put people into two camps and everyone's going to fit in neatly is just ridiculous. Ridiculous. I mean, there are a lot more intersex people than we will maybe ever know, because that's why they can't DNA test athletes. They kept finding people who thought they were cis who were chromosomally intersex. But outward presentation wise, you would have never thought that they were intersex, because there's a lot of different ways that our body can create the secondary sex hormones and organs associated with that. Like, like when you're a little teeny tiny fetus embryo and your body is still differentiating, right? at a certain point, the sex chromosome is going to activate or not. That's basically how you become male in most cases, is that you would have the presence of a Y chromosome is going to cause those little bundle of cells that eventually will become a person to start creating, male presenting organs and such. However, even if those organs exist, they may not present externally. It's possible. It's quite possible that a person can just be insensitive to androgen and just not be able to have any sexual dimorphism. I mean, it's like there's so many real, concrete examples of wide variation between individuals, and the idea that you can neatly categorize and make assumptions about people based on those categories is just wrong. And, I get it. If your fundamental worldview is based on something that is in fact wrong, that's got to be pretty frustrating. I can't imagine that feels very good. But, people's inability to self-reflect and accept the fact that something they've decided is a foundational part of their worldview is actually in fact incorrect. I feel for them, but their existential crisis shouldn't be something that affects other people's lives. And it does. There's just trillions of microaggressions in so many contexts every day that people have to deal with. People making assumptions, people, giving the side eye, people, crossing the street to avoid being near someone for any reason, just assuming things about people, constantly assuming things about people. And there's too many of us that are different, that deviate. There are edge cases that don't fit into the classic easy narratives. And I know it would be really nice for y'all if we could just pretend like we are like you. But I can't. I'm sorry. I mean, romantic. I'm one of those, alphabet soup things that people don't think is real. That's me. I'm here, I exist, and I can't shut up about it because there are other people like me who exist too, and they deserve to have a community that at least somewhat knows who and what they are. Like, this anti-trans panic and biological essentialism is very dangerous to trans people, but it also is dangerous and erases lots of other parts of the queer community as well. It's so weird for me when people make the argument that being, like, especially a trans woman, like a male to female trans woman, right, is some sort of like sexual thing, some sort of fetish. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that there are trans women who are asexual, and there's literally nothing sexual at all about their gender expression. But, thanks for erasing asexual people. Thanks for just assuming we don't exist. We don't get that enough already, right? That's why it's so important for there to be this intersectionality where people like me who are cis but are also queer in some other capacity to be so loudly supportive of our trans siblings because they are under attack, sure, but that also means that parts of our community are also under attack, and maybe all of our community is under attack. We can't be separated out. You know, they can't just pick on trans people. They're going to pick on, well, especially non-gender conforming women, you know, butchy women, you know, people like me who happen to be women with short hair and I can't wear, I literally cannot wear makeup. I can wear a little bit of eyeshadow and lip gloss. That's basically it. Anything more than that, and I have trouble. And people like me are going to be perceived as being like in your face and trying to be like, here, I'm undermining your binary. And as if my very existence is something that I do to annoy other people instead of just living my life authentically. But um, my time is up, my dear ones. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful day. You're our lovely family members. Mwah, mwah, mwah. All the love and support I can give you. Especially if you're trans, but especially if you're not trans. Anybody. Everybody needs it.